Hey everyone, and welcome to the Simply Soccer podcast. We're on podcast number 5. I actually remembered the number this time, and we have some great questions for you this time. Again, you guys came through with some absolutely fantastic questions. I mentioned in the last week's podcast how in love I was with the questions you guys gave me, and you may have actually given me even better questions this week. So keep that up. Keep leaving the questions you want answered in depth in the comments section below. The better the questions, the better these podcasts are going to be. If I don't get to your question, don't worry about it. Keep asking the questions. Chances are at this point I will get to at least one of your questions at some point. But again, it is my choice. It is at my discretion. But I do want to make sure I answer the questions that are popular and the ones I think that need to be answered. Okay, so like I said, we're on to the 5th podcast, and I'm just going to jump right in here with the first question that was asked. And the first question that caught my eye was how to be a skillful and effective winger. Now, I've done a video on this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. And in fact, I'll link the video I did on this in the description, so definitely go and check that out. But I will cover this briefly so you can get an idea of what makes a skillful and effective winger. Now, a winger is a very a position that is, in my opinion, sometimes very underrated. In today's day and age, a winger has to do a lot more than they would have had to do in the past. Usually a winger in the past was simply a wide man, someone who would hug the wing and stay out wide all the time. But in this day and age, you actually expect a lot more from your winger. You expect them to switch flanks a lot. You expect them to come in centrally sometimes. You expect them to track back. You expect them to do a lot more. But here is what I like when either I'm playing wing and what I look to do, and if I have a teammate who's playing wing, what I want them to do, because I usually play striker. So I usually want my winger to do a few specific things. Now, I'm a big fan of the traditional stay out wide winger and stretch the field. When you're a winger, you do want to make sure that for a lot of the match, you are positioning yourself out wide in those pockets of space, or not even pockets of space, those wide open spaces that are going to help you stretch the field for your team. Because if you move out wide towards the line, towards the wing, you are forcing their right back or their left back to come out and cover you, which is going to stretch their back line. So that's one of the first things you should do. But I'm looking at the question. It says how to be a skillful and effective winger. So let's go over that. One, always be making runs. You should always be looking to bomb down that line, make a run so that you can get the ball and potentially pass it through to a striker, get a good cross in, or sometimes even shoot for goal. Another few things you want to be looking to do is make sure you can beat a player one-on-one. One of the most frustrating things when I watch matches, when I play with players who play on the wing, is when they don't have any one-on-one moves in their repertoire and they can't take someone one-on-one and beat them. I mean, you're a winger. You're in a position that requires you to beat players one-on-one. You're in a position that requires you to have some flair. And if you don't have that, if you don't have a move which you have mastered, actually preferably a few moves that you have mastered, then you need to get right on that. You seriously need to start working on that. A few that I would recommend, one of my favorites to use on the wing is the step over, because you do that move quickly, get to the byline, and put in a good cross. This works so often, and the amount of players I've beaten just with a simple step over are numerous, so numerous. Another thing when you're a winger that you should get used to doing is driving at the defender. Don't let them rest. When you get the ball on the wing, go directly at that defender, beat him or her, and put the ball in to the box. Now, again, I did make a video on how to be an effective winger, so I'm going to leave it at that. Just use those few tips I've given you there, and we're going to move on simply because I've already covered this in the video. Again, if you would like to view that video, go check it out. It's in the description. I will link it there for you. So let's get another question, and there was another question that really caught my eye, and I promised to do. And it was, actually, this is not the one I promised to do, but this is one that I thought was really good. And it's basically, what is the difference between pro players or high-level players and amateurs? Now, this is a question. This is what I call a very good question. What is the difference between, pro players and players who might be good but are not pros, they're amateurs, or high-level players like that player on your team who's just crushing it, and players who are not? Well, there's a few things going on, and I'm going to tell you the answer, and it may surprise you what the answer is, okay? First of all, we're going to strictly talk about the difference between pro players and amateurs. So that means players who get paid to play and players who don't get paid to play. So we're not going to get into like what's the difference between like a Messi and another pro player, or what's the difference between a high-level pro player and an average pro player. We're just going to go over the difference between the players that made it pro and actually get paid to play football or soccer, and the ones who don't, okay? And the biggest difference between a pro player and an amateur is the pro players have put in the work and the effort. Now, that may not be the answer you want to hear, but it's the truth. The players that are pro, there are pro players out there who are definitely not as talented as some of the amateurs, who are pros because they put in the effort every single day to work at their game, to work on their fitness, to work on their diet, and all of this stuff, so that eventually they could land a contract. I mean, I even know some people who play pro right now in some of the lower leagues in America, and I mean, there's some of the hardest working players I know. They work on their game all the time. They work out all the time. They eat right. They're very strict and dedicated with their routine. They're very organized with it as well. You know, they work out every day. They eat right every day. They practice every day. And the difference is that they do that. They do their research. They don't leave anything up to chance. And then you can take an amateur player who might be more talented than these guys I know, yet they didn't make it because, you know, on any given day, they're lazy. They don't go out and train. They don't eat right. They eat crap. They don't do what they need to do. They don't do their research. They don't think they can improve. They think they're already so good that it doesn't matter, that someday some person's going to magically throw a contract at them and they'll be a professional. So that's one of the big differences that I think players don't think about. I'm sure what you were looking for is like, oh, you know, the difference between amateurs and professional players is one shoots better than the other, or one's more talented. No, you have to get this idea out of your head that talent is the reason that someone becomes a professional soccer player, because it's not true. I think I mentioned this before, but there's a very famous, or I don't know if it's famous, but there's a very good Will Smith quote that I love to tell people, and it's this. And it says, "Talent you have naturally, skill is only developed by hours and hours of beating on your craft." So what that means is, you know, there are many talented people in this world, many talented people in certain areas, whether it's soccer, whether it's some other sport, whether it's like music or something of that nature. But you have to understand, being a person, being a human, you come with a certain amount of innate ability already, no matter who you are. In most cases, you already have a certain level of natural talent, and it's just about bringing out that natural talent. So the person who works the hardest on bringing out their potential is the one who's going to succeed. So what Will Smith is saying by talent you have naturally, but skill is developed by hours and hours of beating on your craft, he's essentially saying you develop the skill that you need to succeed in whatever area, so in this case soccer, by hours and hours of beating on your craft, which means hours and hours of practice. I mean, some people have been asking me questions very recently about, you know, how to finish, or that I took your advice on finishing and it's not working. Well, there's a reason it's not working. It's because you probably watched the video, you went out for like an hour or two and practiced it and it wasn't working, and you're like, oh, this doesn't work. No, it's not that it doesn't work. It's that you haven't put in enough effort yet for it to work. You can't just go out and do something for a little bit and then expect yourself to be amazing. It doesn't work like that. You have to do it consistently every single day for it to work. The problem is, people have this idea of what hard work is. We live in such a lazy society, a society of comfort. At least if you live in a very developed nation. Some of you might not. Some of you might actually know what it means to work hard. But we live in a very cushy society. I do as well. I do myself for most of my life. I've lived in a cushy society that doesn't really teach you how to work hard. So when you're just working, you think you're working hard. Working hard is hours and hours each and every day, not hours and hours a week or hours and hours a month. I mean, some players think that if they practiced for a few hours once a week, that's hard work, that they're putting in the effort. No, you're not. It's much more than that. When I say someone is working hard, I usually mean it's because they're working for hours upon hours on something every single day. And that is the big difference between pro players and amateurs. And what you have to understand about pro players is this is what they do for a living. So if any of you have a job or a full-time job, or even a part-time job, if you have a part-time job, imagine you were there pretty much every day. That's what soccer players do, except they're playing soccer every single day. They're practicing every single day. They're working out every single day, and they're eating right every single day. Now, if you want to become a pro soccer player, you have to mimic that. You have to find the time to mimic that as much as you can. That means you need to try and practice every single day. You need to try and eat as well as you can, and you need to try and work out every single day as well. Because if you want to get to the level of being a professional, it's not going to cut it if you're only working out sometimes. You need to start working out the same amount or as close as you can to the same amount as the professional players, because no one's going to hold your hand and bring you up to their level. You're going to have to take yourself there yourself. And coming from someone myself who was a very talented player and who, when I was very young, I didn't put any effort, it's very frustrating to hear this sometimes, because I used to think there was some magic secret that professional players had, but it really isn't. When I started to look at it more closely, it really came down to hard work. So if you want the biggest difference between the pro players and the amateurs, it's the pro players put in the work, the amateurs didn't. And that's not to say, some amateurs don't want to go pro, and that's fine. But if you want to become a pro and you're not, and you're looking for the main reason, it's probably because you're not putting in the effort. And if you are putting in the effort, then you need to start experimenting and put effort into different areas. Like if you're only practicing one area and it's not really yielding results, time to try something different, for example. Okay? So that was a really good question. That's what I would say the main difference is. And guys, when I say putting in the hard work, I think when I say that, people think I mean lifting or doing drills or things like that. No, hard work doesn't just entail physical things. I mean mental things as well. I mean working hard to the extent of looking at every single alley you can, down every single path, and saying, how can I improve this? How can I improve this? And how can I improve this? So not just your finishing, not just your shooting, not just your skill moves, but I also mean your mentality. I also mean your attitude. I also mean things of this nature, because the professional players have those as well. Okay, so that is the big difference, I would say, between the pro players and amateurs. Maybe you wanted me to say something like, the pro players are more skillful, and they probably are. But the reason why they are is because they put in all that effort, they put in all that practice. No one is doing a step over well if they haven't practiced it. No one is doing, shooting into the top corner every single time unless they've practiced it over and over again for hours upon hours. No one is doing what they're doing at the professional level or even close to professional level without putting hours and hours of work in during training. Okay, guys, so the reason I tell you this and I don't tell you other things like, work on this area and work on this area, because it's a very important lesson to learn that you have to work hard if you want to become a high-level player. There really is no magic pill. There really is no secret method. There are ways to train that are more effective than others, but learning to work hard and train consistently and train often and train continuously is one of the most important lessons you can not only learn for soccer, but for many different areas of your life. So that is my answer to how to play. I'm sorry, no, that's not it. Wrong question. That is my answer to the difference between pro players and amateurs. It's they practice more often, they eat right, they do what they need to do, they take care of themselves. They recover, they stretch, they do everything they need to do. And you can do the same, but you need to be disciplined and you need to stop kidding yourself and actually do it. And I'm not only saying this for you, I'm saying this for myself too, because I'm like you too. I make excuses sometimes as well, yet the whole important thing about this is now you know what it takes. So now you have no excuse, okay? So we're going to move on to the next question. Let me find one that's good. That was a very good question, however, so whoever asked that, very good question, because I think sometimes this confuses a lot of players what the main difference between amateurs and pro players are, because I'm sure all of us have seen a skillful player who's not pro and we wonder why. That's probably why, okay? So let's move on to the next question. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so I'm just looking at all these, and I have a lot of questions left, so I'm going to try and answer as many as I can, but I don't want to shortchange any of them, so if I have to go in more depth, I will. Maybe we'll go a bit longer for this podcast, we'll see, but let's see what we have here. So one that I'm looking at immediately is, why is communication so important, and how to communicate effectively? Okay, So why is communication so important? Well, obviously in general it's important, but in soccer it's incredibly important. You need to be able to communicate as a team because in anything when it involves a team, not just in soccer, in communication is one of the most important things. So people know what is going on. If for example, if you're the center back and you're trying to tell your winger to cover a certain guy and he's not, there's a way for you to tell him that he should be covering that guy. You communicate with him. You let him know, get back and cover this guy. Don't worry about this guy. I have this guy. Maybe if you're covering the space here, you tell your center defensive mid to get that guy instead. Maybe if your winger has the ball and his head's down, you say, near post, and you make the near post run. I mean, there's a million and one ways to communicate in matches, and it's just when you guys are on the same wavelength, it just makes things easier. The amount of times that I've seen players about to receive the ball with their back turned towards goal and they don't have an opponent on them and I don't hear anyone say turn is too many times. You should be telling your teammates what is around them. Give yourself every advantage you can. If your teammate has the ball and he has nobody around him, tell him to turn because that's going to be good for your team. If he has someone on him, say man on, right? If you are wide open on the wing and you're making a run that could potentially put you in on goal, tell them I'm open, yell at them, scream at them, make that run and tell them that you're there because sometimes we just don't notice. Your players aren't always going to see you, so you need to make it so they can. Use your voice, communicate with your team. Now, I'm not saying yell at your teammates in an aggressive, angry way. I'm just telling you, if you want the ball at a certain place, tell them. They're not going to know. They're not going to be able to read your mind. It's not going to be like telepathy. They can't read your mind, okay? I mean, some players develop an understanding where it's almost like that, but it's much better if you have communication, okay? How to communicate effectively? Well, there's really no rocket science to this. Just be audible, be loud enough so they can hear you, and do it often. That's how you communicate effectively, okay? And another way not to, don't communicate angrily, okay? You can be intense because that's just, and competitive, that's fine. But don't be angry. Don't, criticize and make your teammates mad at you or anything like that. But there's a way to do it and there's a way not to. Just be assertive, tell them what you need to tell them, and that's it, okay? That's a very simple one, but it's a very important one because, there's so many times where I see players not communicating, and I think it's just a lack of focus. Players think, why should I? Or they just forget. Okay, so just be sure you are communicating. It really is so much more important than you know, and one of my pet peeves when I'm watching a match is simple things like telling your teammate to turn and nobody's doing it, okay? So make sure, and this has been a pet peeve of mine since like middle school. So for like a decade, actually over 10 years, this has been something that's bothered me. So make sure that you are doing that. All right, so that's a good question. Let's see what else we have here. Here's another one that I like: how to defend from the front. Basically, I think the question was more like how to have a good work rate when you're up front. But essentially, it's like how do you defend from the front? How can you be a defender from the front? Well, this is a great question, and every striker should be a defender from the front. I don't like it when strikers are lazy. I don't like it when they think they just kind of can jog around up there and wait for their chance. I like it when a striker closes down defenders, tries to block off passing lanes, works hard. And the way to do this, I think, is first and foremost, watch players who are good at doing this. There's a few that I always recommend. The first is Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez is one of the best I've ever seen at defending from the front. I don't always watch Barcelona games, but I know when he was at Liverpool, he used to do this all the time. And because of it, Liverpool would win the ball back all the time because he defended from the front. And what I mean by defending from the front, it's just harass the defenders. There should never be a point in time unless you're like back in your own half, where a defender has time to, take the ball out of defense, look up, dribble the ball a little, look up again. That's way too much time. Don't let them do that. Make them rush so that they have to clear it or do something else, okay? So that's how you defend from the front. Basically, just think of this when you think of defend from the front. Make the defender's life a living hell. You remember that, and you do that, you'll be defending from the front well in no time. A couple other players to look out for, who I forgot to mention, are Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy, two other players who are great at defending from the front. So basically, that's all it means. It's just, harass defenders, try and get the ball from them, Make them make mistakes, okay? Make them have to play perfectly not to make a mistake. If you do that, you're defending from the front very, very well. Good question, though. That's another good one. Remember, just because you're a striker, your job isn't only to score goals. And in fact, if you defend from the front, you will actually probably score even more goals than you were if you were not defending from the front. Okay, another question here that I actually really like, because it's something I would do, is should you practice freestyle? So like freestyle tricks, juggling tricks, like around the world and all that. Okay, this is a hard question only because the answer is yes and no. I myself developed a lot of my skill practicing freestyle when I was younger because it was fun. I used to go to summer camp at a college near me, a pretty big college, a D1 college, and we used to, between practices, play a game of Foursquare, but with soccer, and we also used to do freestyle. And I developed a lot of my freestyle here. Now, the thing that was okay with this is we did this substitute freestyle with actual practice. That's the thing. Freestyle is good and a fun thing to do, but it should never be a substitute for actual practice. If you're going to go out tomorrow and practice soccer for an hour, you should not be doing freestyle. If you have some downtime and you're with your friends and you're like at a camp like I was, and you have 2 or 3 sessions a day and you just want to do some freestyle because you have some time, yeah, absolutely. It will develop some skill, but the thing you have to recognize is there's a reason a lot of good freestylers didn't make it as professional players. It's a completely different thing. Sean Garner, I think is his name, and all these other, Billy Wingrove and the F2 freestylers, all them, they're good players, but, freestyle is a totally different thing than playing at a high level professionally or any high level. Okay, so it's much better to be, for example, practicing your step overs and your feints and your croifs than doing freestyle. It's much better to be practicing your finishing than doing freestyle and all that. Again, I still do it from time to time, sometimes a little bit each and every day, but not for long and not as a substitute for real. I don't want to say real because freestyle, for some people is real training for actual freestylers. But if your goal is to be a footballer who plays in matches, keep the freestyle not to a minimum, but don't let it be a substitute for real football practice, if that makes sense, okay? So feel free to do it and have fun with it, but if your goal is to become a very accomplished player, don't do freestyle as your actual training, okay? Just do it for fun. Okay, so what else do we have here? Here's a really good question. We'll probably end on this, unless I can get another one in. So it's how to develop skill on your own when you're not in an academy, things like basic skills, essential drills, and all this. And this was a good question. I like this question. And I will spend a little bit of time on this. This might be the last one. I'm looking at some other questions I have here. There's another one like how to have great vision. I think I already covered that. And there's another one I actually already covered. So yeah, let's spend the rest of the time on this one. Okay, so how to develop skill on your own when you're not in an academy. Now, I did answer this question. I answered a part of this question, the academy part, in another podcast, and I'll just summarize it here. Basically, if you're not in an academy, don't worry about it, okay? I mean, an academy is a great opportunity, and if you're in one, make sure you take advantage of that, because that means you're going to be playing a lot, you're going to be getting coached by very good coaches, so make sure you take it seriously. But if you're not in an academy, as long as you're disciplined and you're consistent, you can get the same results, maybe even better results as well. So how do you develop your own skill? Well, first you need to develop consistency, and that means playing every single day. There is nothing that is going to help you improve more than playing every single day. And I don't mean just playing in matches every single day, but I mean practicing and getting touches on the ball every single day. There is nothing in this world that will help you improve more than consistency. Okay, I already told you the Will Smith quote, the thing about talent you have naturally, skill is developed by hours and hours of beating on your craft. Well, that's what this is. Hours and hours every day, maybe not hours every day, but at least 30 minutes every day of practicing with the ball. Okay, you do that, and you will see your skills and your ability start to skyrocket. I can't emphasize how much this will help you improve just this one idea, and it frustrates me so much because there's so many players who don't do this. They complain and they moan and they bitch because they're not improving, and they'll tell me, and I'll see it on other YouTubers' videos too. I'll see it on, YouTubers who are trying to help players, and these players will say things like, I tried this and it didn't work and it's not helping me, blah, blah, blah. And I just know that these are the players who have tried it once and they couldn't master it immediately, so they decided, you know what, it doesn't work. No, it's not that it doesn't work, it's that you haven't put in the effort. Do not be one of these players, okay? There's so many resources on the internet, so many other YouTubers that are out there trying to help players who are making these videos for free. I should mind you, they're putting a lot of effort into these things, and they're making these, and I'm watching these people on these channels commenting and just saying, this doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work. Most of them work, but what they're saying when they're telling you these drills is you have to be consistent. You think if you juggle once a week, you're going to get significantly better? Not at all. Do you think if you juggle every single day while practicing the right technique that many people will, show you online, that you'll improve? Absolutely. It's not rocket science. You practice often, you get better quickly. You practice sporadically or not often, you will not get better quickly. So if you're looking to develop skill on your own when you're not in an academy, you need to practice often. So get this idea of consistency in your head, and don't make excuses like I've had so many people tell me, and another one that annoys me is I have school, I have this, I don't have the time. I don't have the time is the most lame and just pathetic excuse. And this might be a little blunt, okay? So I'm not trying to offend anyone when I say this. I'm not saying this to anyone specifically, but the excuse of I don't have time is the most pathetic and worst excuse on the face of the planet. 99% of people have time. It's what they choose to spend their time doing. Oh, you don't have time? Well, what about that time you were playing that video game earlier? What about that time you were watching that TV show earlier? What about that time where you were literally sitting around doing absolutely nothing? You have the time, you just decide to spend it differently. Okay, so never use that as an excuse. I don't care if you're going to school from 7 to 3. What about after school? Oh, you have after school activities? What about after that? Yeah, well, I'm tired. Oh, okay, so it's not that you don't have the time. It's not that you have the time or don't have the time. It's that you're a little tired and you don't want to do it. There's a difference between you don't have the time and not wanting to do it. Look, there are going to be times when you're not going to want to practice. You need to just force yourself to do it. You need to motivate yourself to do it, and you'll have to find a way to do that. I personally just watch some motivational videos for a few minutes, and that gets me motivated enough to start practicing. You got to find your own little routine. So if you really want to develop your skill on your own, if you really want to improve drastically, develop that consistency, destroy excuses like I don't have the time or I'm too tired or I don't want to do it. Destroy those excuses because I'm sorry, they're sad, they're pathetic, and they're going to not help you. And I'm only being this blunt, and you can tell I'm very passionate about this. I'm getting very into this now. I'm only saying this to you, and some of you may even not like that I'm taking this kind of tone with this right now, and just like, well, come on, man, don't be that, cruel or whatever. But I'm saying this because it's a very true element of life, is if you make excuses like this and you don't hold yourself accountable, especially when you want to succeed, and then you go and complain on someone else's YouTube video, or then you go and complain to your mates, or then you go and complain to someone, or even me, although actually I have to give props to most of you guys. Not too many complainers on my channel, which I really like. A lot of you guys actually seem to be very motivated and not complaining, so good, keep that up. But I'll see it on channels that have many more subs than me, which have a wider audience, with all these people complaining. Don't be that person. Don't make excuses. Be consistent if you really want to develop as a footballer. So that is my answer to your question, how to develop skill on your own. Practice every day. Here are a few things you can do, because I'm assuming you wanted some actual drills. So here is, I think I remember you saying like basic skills. Number 1, and we'll do this quickly, ball control. Ball control to me is the most important skill with the ball in all of football. There isn't a more important one out there. Ball control, everything stems from ball control. Ball control is your touch on the ball. It's your ability to manipulate the ball. If you can't do that, you're dead in the water. You are a sitting duck. You can't do anything if you can't control the ball. You can't dribble, you can't shoot, you can't pass. You can't do anything with the ball if you don't have ball control. So work on that. How do you work on that? Easy. You juggle every day. Juggle for at least 10 minutes every day. I don't care if you suck at it. You do it every day, you're eventually going to be good. Second, kicking against a wall. Very simple, right? Very, very simple. Kick against the wall. You can practice your shooting while you're doing it, your shooting technique, and then control the ball with the inside and outside, your chest, both thighs, and other parts of your body, and then play it back. And do this over and over and over again. This is how so many players who don't have access to high-level equipment improve their ball control. It's how I did it. So that's another way. Other skills that you're going to want to develop. Your dribbling. If you can't dribble, you're, again, dead in the water. You can't move. You can't do much. So make sure you're developing your dribbling as well. To do that, I'm going to provide a drill in the description of this video. Take a look down there. It's going to be called the Ronaldo box. It's one of my favorite drills to improve dribbling. It's not going to only improve your touch while dribbling. It's going to improve how quick your feet are, and it's going to improve how quickly you can turn, cut, and all of that as well. So dribbling is the second thing I recommend out of the essential and basic skills to improve. Now, these are the two main ones that I recommend as far as skills with the ball go. So if you're looking to pick a few things to develop every single day, like practice every day to develop your skill, you need to consistently work on your ball control and your dribbling. Those are the two most important. Yes, there are more things like finishing, shooting, and all that, but if you want to pick two to concentrate and focus on, most of all, it is these two. So every single day, make sure you're juggling. Every single day, make sure you're kicking against the wall, and you're practicing your dribbling in some capacity, okay? Again, look in the description. There will be some videos from earlier things I talked about in the podcast, and also for what we just discussed. For dribbling and all that, there'll be some videos that go over some drills you can do, including the Ronaldo box, which is going to be an important one. And I'll tell you what, I'll include a skill video in there as well that goes over a few moves that you can choose to practice every day. I recommend you choose 3 and practice those every single day. So that is the answer to your question. Again, we went a little bit more on the motivational side and philosophical side of this issue. But again, just consistency is the most important thing if you want to improve and develop your skill by yourself. There really is no substitute for it. You know, if you're not doing it every day or every other day, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what drills you're doing. I don't care what equipment you have. You're not going to improve as much as you can. But if you are doing it every single day, you will. And the great thing about soccer is you don't need much to improve. You just need a ball and some space, and that's it. You don't need any fancy equipment. You know, I always laugh when I see all of these new gimmicky kind of training equipment advertised on TV because you don't need it. You really don't need it. They didn't need it 50 years ago to make amazing players, and they don't need it now, okay? All you need is a ball and yourself and possibly a wall and a goal if you can find one, but you don't even need that. So those are the two things you need to work on, and that's the answer to that question. Okay, guys, so we got through a good deal of questions there. The ones that we missed that I have written down is, how to play a lone striker. I did mean to cover that, but because we didn't get to it, I'll consider it for the next one. We also didn't go over how to have good vision, and the reason I didn't go over this is because it is in a previous podcast, so check that out if you haven't. And what are the aspects of a Magic player? The same as an unpredictable player. So if you have seen any video where I've gone over how to be an unpredictable player, it's the same thing, okay? So I also covered that in a different podcast, so I didn't want to repeat it today. But yeah, good questions again. Keep them coming. If you keep, again, giving me questions this good, I mean, these podcasts are just going to be better and better. Remember, leave them down there in the comments below. Just absolutely fantastic questions. Like, again, last week, I had my best questions. I think you beat that this week. These questions are even better. They're getting a little more in depth. They're a little deeper. They're not really shallow questions, which I love to answer, okay? So leave your questions. I don't care if you've had one answered already. Keep leaving your questions. I will pick the best ones or the most popular ones or a combination of the two, and I will use them for next week's. Okay, and like always, we're going to have a hashtag that you can use in the comments that lets me know, indicates to me that you listened all the way. Remember, if you made it all the way and you put the hashtag with your question, I am much more likely to answer your question because it tells me that you're actually listening all the way and that you're actually dedicated to learning and improving as a player. So this time we're going to be a little bit different. I want you to do hashtag the name of your favorite player. No, don't actually write that out. Put like hashtag whoever your favorite player is. So maybe hashtag Messi. I don't know, hashtag Kevin De Bruyne. Whatever your favorite player is, put hashtag their name, then your question. And that will let me know that you've made it all the way to the end, which of course warms my heart, but also allows you a better chance of having your question answered. Okay, guys, so thank you for making it all the way to the end. Once again, if you're new to Simply Soccer and you made it all the way to the end, well, then I applaud you. Absolutely fantastic job. We have these podcasts every single Wednesday, including other videos on Tuesday, Thursday, and on the weekends. So, I would love for you to subscribe for more great content. We're going to be releasing a lot of stuff in the future, especially with in the warmer weather, which is going to allow me to do so many more videos. Okay, so make sure you subscribe. For everyone else and for you new subscribers, make sure you like this video as well. The more likes on it, again, the more I know how much you enjoyed this, and that will continue to do these. I know someone asked me to put these on SoundCloud. I am working on that, so don't worry. That will be happening hopefully sometime soon, and I will try and get these uploaded on there. I've never used SoundCloud before, and I'm not too familiar with it, so I'll have to learn it before I put these on there. But I don't think it'll be too difficult, so look out for that. I'll definitely mention it somewhere when I have done it, okay? Also, share this podcast with your mates and your teammates, mates and teammates, so that we can spread it around and get as many people as we can to see it, because why not? Let's, give some good advice to many, many players. All right, guys, so once again, thank you so much for tuning in for this week's. Again, we'll have another one on Wednesday. Be sure to look out for the video on the channel tomorrow on Thursday, and I will see you in that one.